Welcome to Monkey See,
Monkey Review.
where this week we're going to be covering What If Thor Was an Only Child?
That's right. So if you've not watched that episode, go watch it because spoilers will commence now, and then come back and we'll talk about it.
Yep. All right, so let's start off. Did you like it?
Yeah,
I
it was
did too.
different.
It was.
Not what I was expecting the next episode of What If would be.
Yes.
Kind of thought we were kind of going on a trend there for a minute. It's like, oh no, here's Thor.
Yeah.
And he's an only child.
Yeah. So I thought it was a very interesting take on it. I enjoyed it. I was like, okay, all right, good. So we got away from the depressingly bleak storylines for a minute, and we got a really fun episode. Essentially, this is where you meet Party Thor.
Yes.
I loved it.
It's still bleak though. I mean,
It is bleak.
At the end.
Yes.
We'll get to that later.
The ending, though.
Yeah.
The ending.
Beautiful. But yeah, so Party Thor.
Party Thor.
Yeah.
He was awesome. I loved it. He was incredible. He was hilarious. So essentially, you open up the episode and you have Dr. Jane Foster and her assistant, and they're watching the stars, and they're like, okay, if all my calculations are correct, very reminiscent of Thor 1.
Yes.
Where they are in the field. This time she doesn't have her professor with her. It's just the two of them. And they're just like, okay, so if all our calculations are correct, there should be an alien invasion right here. They're on the phone with S.H.I.E.L.D. They're calling everybody, and nobody's listening to them. So
Because there was an alien invasion.
there was.
See Thor and them coming in.
Yep.
And
They go straight over them into Las Vegas.
right on the strip.
Oh, yeah. If you're going to go somewhere to start partying, I guess that's a good place to start.
And that's what he does.
I mean, and that's what he does. He gives a grand speech of, your overlords of party are here, something along those lines. And it was just like, I can totally see
Yep.
Thor doing this.
Yep.
So, yeah. And then, of course, you get the Watcher. He's talking about, instead of what changed in this story was instead of Odin keeping Laufey's son, Loki, he actually returned him to Laufey and never adopted Loki as his.
So it was their peace offering, basically.
Yes.
So that was the end of the war.
Yep. And then, there was actually a lot of peace, a lot of, in the realms, everything was good. But, Loki wasn't there to kind of keep Thor as the good child, So he kind of just kept getting
Different.
Yeah.
You didn't have that adversity growing up. So there wasn't that good and evil
yes,
kind of thing, back and forth. So
he didn't see Loki do something stupid and well, I don't want to do that,
yeah.
But he definitely took that party Thor that we saw in the first Thor movie and just gutsy, let's go in, guns a-blazing, and just took it to a whole nother level where he's just like, let's party.
Yep.
You find out that he's come to Earth because Odin has gone into the Odin sleep to rejuvenate, and his mother Fricka has gone to spend time with her sisters for the summer solstice.
Yep. I'll be back whenever he wakes up. Peace
Exactly.
out. Stay here, study, don't do anything crazy.
Typical story of leaving your 16-year-old child at home and saying, no parties, do your homework, I'll be back in a couple of days. And of course, what do?
They go party.
They go party. And so, but this episode was really fun. There's really not a lot of as far as context to the story other than, the real rundown of it is S.H.I.E.L.D. gets involved. They're like, hey, we got to do something about this. They go to Dr. Jane Foster, and she's just like, by this time, she's already smitten with Thor. She thinks he's Hottie McStoddy or whatever, whatever the other lady calls him.
Darcy?
Darcy, that's her name.
So, all right. What about Darcy and Howard the Duck, right? She is now Mrs. Duck.
Yes, Darcy the Duck.
Darcy the Duck. Yeah, she is now married to Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
In this episode in Vegas.
Yeah. So
all right, I love it.
He shows up and she's just like, what about that guy? And he was just like, don't push your luck. You'd be lucky to have somebody like me.
Yep.
And a few minutes later, you see them getting married by Elvis in one of the little chapel.
You want to go grab a coffee or late night brunch or something.
Yeah.
This is not a date though. Yeah. Then okay. Yeah. And they're getting married. Like, what just happened right now?
We see Thor and Jane Foster get tattoos. He gets a tattoo that says science. It has a little microscope, and she gets a tattoo that has Mjolnir and it says magic. So I mean, there was a lot of little funny moments like that where you just laugh.
Yeah.
Shield comes in, picks her up, and takes her and Darcy to the helicarrier, and they're just like, "Hey, we gotta figure this out." And she's just like, no, what are you talking about?" Because now she's smitten. And they were like, "Okay, so I guess we're gonna have to call in the big guns." And
The last resort.
the last resort, they bring out this big briefcase, and they're just like automatically thinking, "Oh, they're about to nuke him."
Yeah.
And they're just like, "Open it." And there is the pager for Captain Marvel from Commander Fury. Yeah, from Nick Fury.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Where's Nick, though?"
Yeah. So Nick was still obviously the head of Shield. That didn't change in this timeline.
Right.
Except for Maria Hill as acting director because
Korg.
took out Nick.
Yeah.
When Nick was trying to tell Thor and them to stop the party.
Yep.
This is our planet. Blah
Yeah.
blah blah. You got to stop this. And then Korg just takes him out, so he's asleep somewhere.
Lays him out, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, he's still unconscious."
Yeah.
But that was another thing about this episode I really enjoyed is the fact that there were so many different characters.
They brought in everybody.
Right.
I mean,
There were so
absolutely
many
everybody.
characters.
I mean, they brought in people just from the Thor universe. They brought in people from Guardians of the Galaxy.
had-
They brought in everybody.
Yeah, we had Korg. We had Meek at one point. We also had those fembots that we saw in Guardians of the Galaxy
Yep.
2. A lot of them were hanging out in
Yep.
a lot of these episodes, which really surprises me. We had Yondu. We had Loki shows up with the Frost Giants, and they're like, "My brother from another mother."
That was hilarious.
Right? Yeah, like Loki walks up, he's like, "Where's the son of a witch?" And Thor turns around like, "Who dares? Loki!"
I mean, I love the ice guys when they come, but Loki himself, Prince Loki, I love that guy.
So, we find out that the reason why Shield's now involved is one, there's an invasion, and two, the last time that something like this happened, like it completely destroyed a planet.
Asteroid.
Asteroid.
It was an asteroid.
It was already on fire though.
Yeah, but everyone made it home
We just
safely.
helped Gary the Goat eventually.
Gary the goat. Yeah.
These are a lot of little lines from this
Yeah.
episode. You got to see it this episode. This is hilarious.
Yeah. So they call in Captain Marvel.
Yes.
So she comes in and she booms,
Booms.
and then, Thor's like, look, talking to Loki. Wait, did you boom? I thought you boomed. I don't boom. I don't boom in public.
yeah.
Here she is, and yeah.
She shows up. She's like, "All right, shut the party down." And he's just like, "You Earth people have a word for women like you. I'm going to say it. Party pooper. You have pooped the party." And then, of course, fight ensues.
Yep.
And it's a great fight because of the fact that these are two of the heavy hitters in Marvel, and they are not holding back.
Well, I think they are holding back at the beginning.
Well,
Yeah,
they're not
to a
holding
point.
back to the point of, clashing and nuclear bombs.
Yeah, they're
Going off.
they're dishing it out, but more like
Yeah.
playground style. Like, okay,
Yeah, like, okay, let me just see how hard I have to keep hitting each
Yeah.
other to knock the other one out.
so I love how the first fight ends.
Yes.
Just drop the hammer on your chest.
Yeah, like he knocks her to the ground, then he puts Mjolnir on her chest, and she can't get up because, of course, the enchantment on
She's not
Mjolnir.
worthy.
She's unworthy to
Yeah.
pick it up, which was hilarious. I would love to actually see that in a movie.
Yeah,
I think that would be hysterical.
I mean that's what they should have done, Thanos.
Right? Like, boom, done.
All right, stop.
Exactly.
You're done with this.
Yeah. So he eventually picks the hammer back up. Party continues. She goes back to the helicarrier to lick her wounds, and story blah blah blah. They keep talking like, okay, well, we need to launch a nuclear attack, or he's going to destroy our planet because
Yeah,
the party isn't just a party. Like the party creates atmosphere
yeah,
to make people want to party more.
yeah. So the world is getting destroyed little by the
Yeah.
party.
Yeah.
And they basically told her, I thought you were the biggest here there is, blah blah blah. Well, I'm holding back because if I go full power, I'm gonna nuke it, and nothing on this planet would survive in the area that I'm gonna fight. So then they figure out where they can go, where they can have their fight.
Yeah.
And then obviously they're gonna nuke
Darcy's
them too.
like, well, what about North Dakota or South Dakota?
I don't know.
I don't
we can
know.
lose to Dakota. It'll be fine.
And then just like, oh, okay, well, what about we just take him over to Siberia?
Yeah.
And we'll take him out there. So another fight ensues. I also love the fact that when they're fighting, like they're knocking each other from continent to continent.
Yes.
And on each continent, they actually have the name of that continent.
Yeah.
Like she knocks him from like North America all the way over to France, and then we get back and forth through the whole
was
episode.
cool.
Like it's hilarious because I'm like, why would they do that? And then I'm like, yeah, most people don't really pay attention to geography and wouldn't recognize the power of the hit.
Yeah.
If it's knocking them into another,
And
continent.
she's holding back.
And she is holding back.
I gave you a warning punch.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was fantastic. I really would like to see this play out. Like, I want to see them go head to head hardcore.
Oh, live action.
Like, no holding back. Let's do this.
Yeah. So they are about to go to town on each other.
Yep.
And they're about to drop some nukes on them too, because they're like, we're gonna, just
Yeah. Maria,
make sure.
Yeah, Maria was like, okay, in case her punch ain't enough, let's go ahead and get ready to drop the rockets.
Yeah. 5,
4.
4. I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And then Mom shows up.
Yep. Yeah. So essentially, Mom shows up, but it's because Jane Foster has figured out how to shut the party down. How do you shut the party down? Parents show up.
Yep.
So she gets Heimdall's attention. Heimdall brings her to Asgard, sends her to her sister's, Fricka's sister's house, and she's like explaining to her like what's going on. So as soon as like Captain Marvel's coming in for the punch,
and they're about to hit the button for the nukes.
yep,
Mom pops up.
we have a little, projection of Fricka, and she's like, Thor, Odin's son.
Didn't she say only son of Odin?
Only son of Odin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only son of Odin? What are you doing? Mother.
We're having a study session. She's like, I heard you're on Midgard. He's like, Midgard?
Never.
He's like, oh,
Yeah, the polar bear in the background.
Yeah.
Ah.
Oh, yeah, we decided to do a culture exchange, so we came to Earth.
Me and my study group.
Yeah. So then it turns into the mad dash to get everything picked up, and everybody's like, no, we're not going to. Then he's like, okay, I'm going God mode. So he flies into the air. I am Thor. Fricka is on her way. And everybody pauses and goes, Fricka.
She's not happy.
So everybody rushes to start cleaning up everything.
Yep.
It's hilarious because the way it ends, like she shows up on Earth finally, and he's standing there with like 2 or 3 chalkboards behind him, and everybody's sitting down like crisscross applesauce, and they're just like going over everything on the board, and he's like, "Oh, mother, come say hello to my friends," and it's hilarious. Like everything about this episode, like for real, it was just like, okay, that's funny. That is funny.
As we always say when we end our classes, learning is magic.
He's like, oh, and she's like, okay, let's go home. He's like, okay, mother, hold on. And he reaches out to grab Mjolnir, and it comes flying, and it's covered in Mardi Gras beads, and graffiti, and then the jig is up. He's like, oh no, and she's like, Odin or Thor. So it's hilarious. Like it really is a really Ferris Bueller's Day Off kind of style episode, which is really great. It really is a lot of fun to it. Then you have the moment where Thor is saying bye to Darcy and to
Jane.
Jane. Thank you. I couldn't remember her name.
And finally ask her out on a date.
Yeah.
And then, turns around.
Yeah.
All is well.
The Watcher's like, oh, and this is how it all ends. And he turns around like to fade off into the distance. And then you hear another boom.
Yep.
And you turn, you look, and there is a portal with Ultron sentries coming out of it. And then you have the big reveal. You have Ultron walk out with all 6 Infinity Stones and a gorgeous body. The face opens up and it has Vision's face inside the armor.
Which would mean that Ultron successfully loaded his consciousness
Yes.
into that body.
What we saw in Age of Ultron, Avengers 2, Age of Ultron, we saw him actually potentially have successfully made it happen.
Yeah. And he has all the Infinity Stones.
Yes.
Like,
and
okay.
Now he's going from dimension to dimension. It looks like conquering dimension after dimension.
Yep.
Wow. Yep. Dude, talk about cliffhangers.
So could that be what the Watcher is going to try to stop?
Yes.
At the end of this season?
That's been my opinion. That is my opinion, that he is now like, okay, we're going to get all these characters that we've watched back now. We're going to get the Killmonger. We're going to get the all the I'm wondering who we're going to get from the zombie apocalypse era. I would love to see Spider-Man, Peter Parker with the cape.
Probably going to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I would say come from that.
Yeah. That's my only thought of okay, that would be who would we get from that episode. Of course, we'll have Party Thor. We're going to have Doctor Strange Supreme. We've already seen post or mid-season credits where Thor and Doctor Strange are Supreme sitting there, and Thor goes, "Oh, zombies!" So we know we're going to get some kind of a connection to that dimension, and him and Thor may be actually jumping between dimensions, trying to get an Avengers team. We know that we're going to get a Gamora in Thanos' armor. So it's going to be a really interesting ragtag bunch of Avengers. This is going to be the Avengers of the multiverse, which I'm down for.
Yeah.
This is going to, I know we're going to get Peggy Hill, or Peggy
Carter.
Peggy Carter. Sorry, Peggy Hill's off King of the Hill. Sorry. Had that conversation with somebody the other day, and now it's stuck in my head.
Carter.
Peggy Carter is Captain, Captain Peggy.
Yep.
Or Captain Carter, because they're not saying Captain Britain because they character in the actual comic books are named that. So we're about to get a big crossover, which has been my prediction for this pretty much this whole season. It's nice to know that I was correct and not just insane.
Hopefully.
We're getting
time will tell.
Well, insane maybe, but we're definitely getting that crossover. So I'm excited. I really want to see. I want to see him go back to the home dimension of the Ultron. Where did he come from?
That would be interesting.
What does that planet look like?
Yeah.
Is it just that planet, or is he taking control of the entire universe?
Probably the entire universe.
That's what I would go with.
Yeah, especially if he has all the Infinity Stones.
Right. Yeah. So it makes me really want to come back to okay, so how did he get the Soul Stone?
Well, I mean, that was in the...
Oh, you've got to make the sacrifice. Who did he love enough to sacrifice to get Soul Stone unless somebody else already had it?
Well, in the original... I don't know.
See?
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I hope we get answers to these questions because I want to know now. I'm psyched. This is a great. So what would you give this episode?
I'm gonna give it a 4.2.
Yeah,
just because it was fun.
Yeah,
and they did a lot of just nod outs to a lot of things.
Yes,
it was just a fun episode.
Yeah, fun episode. Had a lot of connections to a lot of characters. Just fun. It really was a good time. Plus, you got to see what Captain Marvel can really do. I don't feel like we've seen that.
No, we haven't. We still have yet to really see it.
Yeah, but we got to see a pretty good fight between her and Thor, which is always fun.
Yeah.
Throwing people from continent to continent. You can't never go wrong with that. So I'll go with you with 4.2. I really am interested to see, though, what happens next.
Yeah, definitely.
Because even the Watcher seemed surprised.
Yeah, he was not expecting Ultron to pop up.
Yep. So
with the Infinity Stones.
For the guy who's supposed to be watching everything, bro, did you take a nap? What happened?
So, well, it's not my universe I'm watching. I'm watching this universe.
Apparently so.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But anything else you want to add from this episode, man?
That's it.
Dude, this is a great episode. I've watched it probably 3 times.
Yeah.
It's funny. But all right, so that's it for this week from Monkey C.
Monkey Review.
Do us a favor. Do us a favor. It's one of them days. Leave us a like.
Subscribe.
Drop some comments in there. Tell us your favorite character that was not a Thor character but showed up in this episode. Because we had a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So that's it for this week. We love you guys. We'll talk to you later.
Bye, guys.